Hi everyone, welcome to a very special conversation between Eddy and myself. Many of you will recognize Eddy as the CEO of Haven, and I thought that it is very important for us to hold this special conversation because ever since the announcement of the new riders, the new IP riders were made last year, and especially after 1st April this year, some of these new riders were launched. I think there are a lot of people with questions on what they should do. Should they downgrade to the new riders? Should they stick with their current rider? Or should they downgrade to a lower rider, but it is still the previous rider, right? I know all this sound very complicated, and it is because of this that I've asked Eddy to come in and join me on this conversation so that at the end of this conversation, I hope that we will have an understanding on why these new riders they are being launched, how it is affecting the stakeholders, and more importantly, I hope that it will provide you the clarity on what you should be doing with your hospitalization and surgical plan, which we believe, whether Providend or Haven, we believe that it is one of those few insurance plans that everybody must have. So with that, I'm going to jump into the conversation. So Eddy, welcome to this conversation. It's really a conversation because you can ask me questions. I'm not the only one that can ask you questions, but hopefully in these casual conversations, we'll be able to provide some answers to the listeners, right? So maybe as a start, since you are the expert in this area, maybe you can give a quick summary on the changes of these IP riders since 1st April 2026.
Well, it all happens in November last year when MOH announced the changes to the new IP riders. So what it means is that for new riders bought from 1st April this year, it can no longer be the same anymore. Okay, so there are three particular changes to consumers. Firstly, is that the deductibles can no longer be covered. So for the new, if you buy a new riders from 1st April, you will not cover deductibles. So this deductible is basically the first layer of fees that you must pay. Okay, typically it is the 1,500 to 3,500, depending on the ward type. So this is the bill you must pay. Beyond that, the insurance kick in.
Depending on the insurance coverage for the ward type.
That's right.
So the lowest is 1,500.
1,500. Let's say a C ward in public hospital. If A ward in public hospital or private hospital is 3,500. This is the bill that you must pay. So beyond that, you need to pay the co-insurance, co-payment, or some people call it. So this co-payment has also increased from $3,000 to $6,000. Okay. So with these two changes, what it means is that when a consumer seek a hospital treatment, they have to pay more. Okay, so as a result of these two changes, the trade-off is that, or the advantage is that the premiums can come down by about 30% on average,
which we have seen after 1st April.
Yes, most insurance companies has actually given bigger savings, about 40% or more.
Okay. That is on the rider, right? The rider
on
premium.
the new rider.
Yeah, we're not talking about the base plan.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So just to make sure that all of us understand, because I'm not going to assume that we keep in touch with this whole IP base plan and rider thingy. So there is a IP base plan, right? The integrated plan, the base plan, right? And of course, there is a rider that is added on the base plan to waive off, for example, in the past, deductible and co-insurance.
That's right.
Now, deductible, and we kept using this word deductible, some of us will understand it if we buy car insurance, right? We call it excess.
That's right.
Right, the first amount that you have to pay before you can even claim from the insurance company, right? So that's deductible. And after you pay the deductible, there is still the portion that you got to pay yourself, which is called co-insurance.
That's right.
Right, so there's some cost that you have to pay on your own so that we can keep the premiums affordable.
That's right.
Right. So now, Eddy, we have been in the industry for quite a while. I think it's almost 30 years. Both of us have been in the industry, and we have seen changes, right? And so, correct me if I'm wrong. I think when IP integrated plans, and in those days, I don't think we call it IP, we call it shield plans. We don't
That's
call
right.
it IP until much
Yeah.
later, because IP means MediShield Life
Yeah.
is integrated into this plan, right?
That's right.
So when IP plan first came out, it was actually very simple. And then I can't remember how many years ago, maybe close to 15 years ago, there was an insurer that came out with a fantastic shield plan.
About 2008 or so. Yeah.
Was it 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
so
like that.
almost 20 years actually, right? Almost 20 years. Because in the past, the first IP that was launched, it doesn't cover everything, right? There are certain limits. Room and board has certain limits.
That's right.
A certain treatment like cancer treatment, maybe your bill is 10,000, but you cannot claim the full 10,000.
That's right.
And what that means is that if your total bill is 100,000, you cannot claim 100,000. There is certain portion you have to pay.
Yeah.
Then this insurer came out and offered a super plan, as charge plan. That means if the bill is 100,000, you can actually claim 100,000, subject to you paying the deductible first and then the co-insurance.
That's right.
But then they came out with a super rider
Yes.
that also waived 100% of the co-insurance and the rider. So in effect, it means that you can actually walk into the hospital, stay there, and don't pay anything,
That's right.
right? Obviously, that led to an increase in premiums because people have no qualms getting the best treatment because they don't have to pay for anything at all. And then sometime later, we made a change, right? The rider now, I don't know, I can't remember how many years ago, but it doesn't seem too far away. I think probably the last 5 years, the insurance company were forced to only sell riders, and we all have to convert to the rider whereby you have to pay something.
I think it's about 2018.
2018?
MOH came out with some regulations on that. Yeah.
Right? So
Restrict, yeah.
nobody can now have a rider that waives off everything.
Yeah.
You're going to pay something. You're going
That's
to pay either some form of deductible or co-insurance, you're going to pay a certain amount. And you mentioned earlier, it finally landed at minimally you got to pay between 1,500 to 3,000. But it didn't help. People still claim it and the premium has gone up. So this third round, right? This third round, we are now forced to, no matter what, pay the deductible. There's no way the new rider will be able to waive off deductible. And now the co-insurance portion, the limit is much higher. You have to pay at least up to $6,000. What that means is that for the smaller bills, we now cannot claim. I want to just ask you, you know, we had the privilege to attend the pre-media briefing by Ministry of Health before it was announced last year in November. For the first time, you went into the room, different stakeholders, and both of us were there listening to MOH announce the impending changes. What were your impressions when you heard the brief by MOH?
I mean, when we were invited, for me, it was quite, we don't know what exactly is the agenda, okay? But of course, through the whole context of that, before this before the invite was that the insurance scene is that premiums keep rising. And really when we talk to clients, when clients actually reach out to us on a yearly basis, when they look at their premiums, they are also finding a strain. Whether they continue paying a premium, because premium has gone up a lot. Almost every 1 or 2 years, you can see changes in either the base plan, the rider premiums, or both. Okay, so your premium don't just increase by age, but it also adjusted by inflation, medical inflation. And I mean, based on the latest projection this year, the medical inflation is 16.9%. Okay, the cost of medical services is increasing very fast. And as a result, there are a lot of ground sentiments that insurance is getting very expensive. Okay, so we all know that, and there's really not much of a solution, because if you want the insurance, you want the treatment, right, you need to have some way to fund it, and IP plan is the only way you can get it meaningfully. So it's with this context that we hear about all the announcements. And I think when I go through that, I realize that actually, firstly, while we are facing all these increases in premiums, the government is actually thinking about that. Okay, I guess before you even have this meeting, they already talk for months or a period of time to talk about that, and then they share about what are the changes, okay, as we know it now, or the new requirements, and what are the considerations, because they are trying to address the buffet syndrome, okay, which is causing all these claims.
Buffet syndrome means that since I have it, I might as well just use it. Since the food is there, I go and eat it, eat as much as possible.
Usually when you go buffet, right, you eat more than what you need. Okay, you eat more.
Since you paid for it already.
Nobody eat lesser than you pay a buffet price. So because of that, buffet syndrome, the premiums are escalating. Okay, so the new changes basically tackle this quite head on. Okay. And
were you surprised that MOH insisted on this change? Because this is really MOH coming down to the insurer and say that you need to develop all these new riders. Were you surprised?
I was slightly surprised, but I could see the signs coming.
Okay.
Because we talked so much for many years about the insurance company trying to do something about it. The medical profession is trying to do something about it, but there's nothing can be done. And consumer caught in between have to pay for premiums, right? So we need somebody external to come in to in the words of Mr. Ong, to untangle the knot. Okay, and this is how it was done.
Do you think that this is going to be the silver bullet? That means from now on you will see premium stabilizing?
The jury is still out. We can't tell because we are fighting against two things. Firstly, medical inflation. 16.9%. A large part is structural. The cost of new medicine treatment, cost the drugs, the hospitals, the land prices, the aging population, and then the manpower costs. All these are you can't control. Okay, you will go up. But beyond medical inflation, there's also the issue of overconsumption. So I think really what this is trying to address is really the overconsumption part, the overtreating, the buffet syndrome part.
Actually, the truth is that, and I'm jumping the gun already because later on I'm going to ask you, because you've seen all the plans, that the new plans that have been rolled out. I mean, I noticed that some insurer, they raise the premium of the base plan. Right? So it's like you give a discount for some and then you add on the base, and actually the total cost hasn't really changed. Right? So honestly, if you ask me, I'm not too positive that we would be able, just after this round, we would be able to successfully control the rising premium. I think we may still have to go through a few rounds, but yes, it's a good start. I'll share my impression with you.
Okay.
And I think it was an impression shared by some of the people who were invited for the brief last November, that we felt that we have tried to solve this problem by targeting the insurer. So we forced them to come out with the new IP riders.
Okay.
Consumers obviously take a hit, right? But what about the medical profession? Right? And somebody, it's not just me, someone in the group that during that meeting brought up the same thing, right? And it's true. And of course, we're not saying that all doctors are like that. But personally, I've experienced doctors who try to provide me with treatment that is not needed just to claim, right? So what are we doing in that area? And it seems that all this while, or rather a lot of changes, I won't say all this while, a lot of changes is done on the insurer side, the consumer take the hit. But how about the medical profession? Shouldn't they share in the responsibility to ensure the premiums are controlled? But of course, we were there, and MOH promised that they will look into it, right? They are working on it, and they shared some initiatives. I think recently that was announced in the news that we are now going to have a private hospital
Okay.
that is not going to charge exorbitant prices.
Non-profit.
Non-profit. That's right.
Yes.
So we heard that actually last November as
Right.
one of the initiatives they
Yes,
are
yes.
targeting the medical
Right.
profession.
Yeah. I think right now, if I understand correctly, Mount Avenue is also considered a not-for-profit. Yeah, so you're going to have one more.
Right.
And I think when I first read it, I thought another idea is that this not-for-profit hospital is mainly for Singaporeans. So
I guess it has to be.
You're not fighting with non-Singaporeans or PRs, I think.
Yeah, you are not fighting with the hospitals that attract a lot of rich foreigners coming here for treatment, and they can
afford to pay,
afford the treatment. Okay, so we have spent some time talking about the changes, and we have spent some time talking about our impressions. The next thing is I really want to ask you, because I've not seen anyone actually doing a very thorough analysis on all the 7 insurers, the changes to the premium, but Haven has done it. So I'm going to ask you, right? You have done an analysis for all the 7 insurers, the new IP plans, and you have looked at the benefits. So can you share with the listeners, how do they all stack up against one another?
Okay, we have produced a research because we think this is important, not just for us, for our clients, but I thought the information is good for public also. So when Straits Times caught hold of it, they also published it.
Did they publish the full analysis of all the insurers?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So what we did is that we do a highlights of the changes from this different insurance company. We also compile the lifetime premium of the insurance plan. The lifetime premium basically means the premium you need to pay from age 1 to 100 years old. How much would that be? And it's quite staggering. So while this MOH changes targets on the new rider, I was a bit surprised that the insurance company is taking this change to change a lot of things.
Like what?
Like the base plan, the benefits of base plan, how they position themselves, even the old rider make some changes, and the premium pricing of the entire suite. Okay, so it was quite a significant change for consumers, because usually insurance companies don't change it in sync. Everybody doing it, and then in all the entire suite. So many companies actually does that. So as a result,
they did the change.
Yeah,
for all the base plans as well.
Not all. I think there are 2 companies that didn't change it, but in totality, most insurance companies have made changes.
Okay,
and it is also understandable why consumers says that things that how come at the end of the day I'm still paying about the same. Okay, I save on the new riders, I pay more on the base plan, but overall there are still savings based on the analysis. Some key changes for the base plan is that we notice some insurance companies are more targeted. For example, if you go to a panel doctors, okay, you get better payout.
Panel doctors means doctors that are on the insurance company's panel.
Yeah,
that's what panel doctors mean. Okay.
So these doctors usually have to follow their stipulated charges. They can't charge you high.
Okay.
So we also notice some insurance companies also are more lenient to certain underwriting conditions, like overweight, like high cholesterol. Usually insurance company will just reject or exclude coverage for these applicants. But there's an insurance company that actually offers that under certain conditions, of course. Okay, if it's not too serious, you can actually get insurance from them. And instead of exclusion, mean don't cover certain conditions, you can actually get full cover but pay higher premiums. So these are good options for people with some underlying conditions. But by and large, these are fringe benefits. The main benefit still remains the same. Okay. We also noticed that the base premiums for most insurance companies has gone up. But
so whatever savings you got from the new IP rider, which is cheaper by about 30-40%, is now being offset by the rise of premium for the base plan.
That's right. Yeah, offset. Okay, but overall there's still savings.
Okay, but it wouldn't be 30%.
Yeah,
it'll be lower, right?
Except for the 2 insurance companies that they didn't make changes
to the base plan premiums.
Yeah, to base plan premiums. So I think but if you look at the lifetime premium of the new riders versus old rider, yeah, it's true. If you move to a new rider, the lifetime premium is at least 30% lower for most.
Okay, so this is very complicated, and for our listeners, right? Okay, because it's not so straightforward the way I look at it. Okay, so firstly, there is a change in some of the benefits for your base plan. That's one. Secondly, there is potentially a change in the premiums even for your base plan.
That's right.
Right? And then now you have an option to stick with your current rider or the new IP rider that waives off, that doesn't waive off the deductible, and you got to pay a higher co-payment.
That's right.
So if you are going to make a decision, it is not as straightforward as, okay, I should go and downgrade to a cheaper IP rider because I'm going to save some money. Or your decision is not as simple as, let me go and look at which company has the cheapest IP rider. And if I can, I'm going to switch to that company because in the end, the base plan premium for that company may be higher.
Yes.
So the total cost will not be very much different. From if you have stuck with the company that you are with, right?
Yes.
So it's all very complicated.
Yes.
So now, I'm going to ask you this, and I do not know how clear we can be in advising listeners here, because it's always, firstly, not easy to just advise verbally. We need to draw. That's one. Secondly, everyone's circumstances is different. What would you advise for somebody that is currently on their plan now? What should they do? I know it's a very big question. What should they do? Should they stick with the old plan? Should they go and now, if they can, they are healthy. Of course, they are not very healthy, then you cannot move around. But assuming that you are healthy, right, and you have a choice to move, how should you make your decision? Whether you should move, stay with your company, downgrade to a lower, what should you do?
Okay. This is a very common question we receive because, as you say, IP plan is one plan whereby when you join a company, you try to stay with the company because we never know how is our health conditions inside our body. Okay, because we are always afraid of there are conditions that we do not know, and when we move over, and if there's a recent claim after we move over, it may not be covered. So and also at the same time, if our health is not so good, if we are already bogged down, it's hard to upgrade. Can we downgrade or lateral? So we typically have a philosophy or planning approach to guide our clients on this. So we have a 5 points approach to guide our clients. But really, ultimately, even if you go through these 5 points, individual circumstances may warrant a more customized way of thinking. But these are the 5 very good guiding principles to help us think about it. So first of all, we ask ourselves, what is our healthcare expectations? What do you really want to be warded in event of hospitalization? Don't always have to go for the highest plan, because if the expectation is, let's say, a government A ward, that means they don't foresee going to private at all. Then, they can just buy a plan that is for the A ward. If they think that public subsidized ward is good enough, they will never want to go higher than B2 ward. That means B2 or C ward. Subsidized. Then actually you don't need to buy IP plan. Your MediShield Life is able to provide that very effectively. In fact, MediShield Life says that 9 out of 10 bills are fully covered without our pocket expenses. So first of all, you need to understand what healthcare expectation, because the higher you go, the more it costs you.
I'm going to stop you for a while and summarize, because it's going to be a pretty long advice, right? So the first thing you are saying is try as much as possible, don't switch company. Stick with the company that you are with, because we all know that the IP plan, they don't cover pre-existing illness, right? And sometimes you don't know that you have this illness, right? So as much as possible, don't switch company. Stick with the company that you are with. So that's the first thing.
Let me caveat this. I don't think that is the first consideration.
Okay.
That will probably be a consideration after this 5.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
Because if the cost of a certain insurance company is too expensive, and the person is healthy, and he has still an option to move over, you can do that.
Okay.
However, I don't want to put this I don't encourage switching just to catch the lowest premiums.
Okay.
Because from our 20 years experience, the insurance company is like a musical chair. This year, this could be the cheapest. Maybe 5 years later, it could be the most expensive.
It's like telco lah.
Yeah, so you can't really catch it.
Okay.
So stick to one that is reasonable. I think that will be a fair advice.
Yeah, okay. So then I take that away, but now your first point of consideration is actually healthcare expectation. Now I want to play the devil's advocate for our audience, right? Right. If you ask us about our healthcare expectation, I'll tell you that B1 government hospital will be okay. But it's always the what if. What if I want options, right? What if I want a second opinion and I want to get a second opinion from a doctor from the private practice, and so I want to go and stay in a private hospital. And because of that, yes, although my healthcare expectation is B1 government hospital, for option's sake, I am going to buy the highest plan. What do you say to that?
I think it is about really understanding your healthcare expectation. I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer, because for people who are very clear that if their healthcare expectation is just a certain ward, maybe a public hospital, okay, I think that is very clear. Okay, you just buy the plan for that, and you are mostly covered for your hospital treatment. But if you want to have the option, then you really need to buy a higher plan, because the concern is that once you go higher than your ward entitlement, okay, there's this thing called the proration factor. Okay, proration factor basically means that whatever your bill can no longer cover in full, okay, whatever that you incur, let's say in a private hospital, will have to be discounted. This discounted is the proration. You be prorated, and sometimes the discount could be as high as 70% discount. Okay, discount. That means the 70% you have to pay using your own cash.
Okay.
Even you have, because you don't have the right plan. Okay, so this is the cost of having the option.
So basically, you're saying that if today I buy a hospital plan that allows me only to stay in a B1 ward government hospital, then I go and stay in a private hospital, I must be prepared that only maybe 30-40% of the bill is covered by my plan. I got to pay the 60%, 70%
right.
on my own. Right? That can come out to a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay, I understand that. And that is why, Eddy, I said that I want to buy a more expensive plan. I want to buy the plan that allows me to stay in any hospital I want in Singapore, right?
Yes. Then the next question comes in, affordability, right? Okay. Because
is that your second point of consideration?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a very important consideration, because first of all, you understand your expectation, your needs.
Okay.
Then can you fund that needs or not?
Fair
affordability.
Enough.
So affordability is very important, and affordability to us is not just about can you pay the premium right now, because this is a lifelong plan. Okay, you pay until as long as you live. Say 85 average life expectancy. That's a lot of money. Okay, and we know premium increases with age. So when you look at affordability, it's not just about current premiums, but really, are you able to have a plan to fund these future premiums?
Because you're going to fund it even in your retirement.
That's right.
Right? Okay, so affordability. And later on, I'll throw you some spanner about affordability. I don't want to disrupt the flow. 2 points. What's the third point? You said 5 points, right?
Okay. So far, we are talking just the main plan, the base plan. Okay. But think about it. Base plan is actually the most important part of your IP.
Okay.
Because the base plan effectively helps you to cover up to 90%, 90% of your bills, right? So that's important. The next thing to ask is about the rider. Do you really need a rider? Of course, when you talk to a lot of advisors, they will tell you just buy everything. Okay, but rider is quite expensive. It can cost as much as a base plan nowadays. All right. So what's the reason for buying for rider? A rider basically helps to waive the out-of-pocket expenses like deductible and co-insurance.
Which now cannot. The new one cannot.
The new one cannot. But for those with old riders, you can still keep it.
Yeah.
All right.
For those with old rider, they still allow you to waive the deductible, right? And your co-payment is still limited to $3,000.
That's right.
Right?
Okay.
But if you change to the new rider, the deductible you have to pay,
That's right.
the co-payment limit is now at least going to pay 6,000.
That's right.
Okay.
So for those who can keep the old rider, I mean, you have to ask yourself really, are you willing to pay for these premiums or this old rider? Because old rider has gone up also with the recent change. Most of the old riders has gone up. Okay, so you have to ask yourself whether are you okay to pay for it. Okay, if you are able to pay for it, for those who are more well off, they want options, you can continue, no problem. Okay,
continue paying for the rider.
Old riders, yes.
Old riders.
Yeah, if they have the means to do it.
Okay.
But if for those who are really concerned the cost, well, now at least you have the new rider options. As you mentioned, new rider, it doesn't cover the first dollar. Okay, but from our assessment, you can actually save on premiums. Okay, and because. And it also depends on health. Okay, if a person is healthy, actually you don't need the savings from premiums will outweigh the probability of claims. Okay,
meaning to say that if I'm healthy, like me,
you're healthy. I'm not so healthy. I can bring my example later.
I'm healthy, right? So I have only been hospitalized once because of appendicitis. It's not even an illness, right? So I have been paying my hospital premiums, but thankfully not claiming it, right? So for a person like me, maybe it is worthwhile downgrading to a cheaper rider, right? Because anyway, I'm not claiming anyway. So the amount of premiums I save when I downgrade, is going to be more than if I happen to claim that one time, right? And I have to pay a bigger bill due to me downgrading. But I still save because maybe I will not claim for the next 10 years and the premium that I save is a lot more than that one single bill that I have to pay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are an example of a person, a typical example. People typically don't claim for 10 years, for 20 years. Some even don't even claim after 20 years. I mean,
that's good news.
That's good news. All right. So can you imagine the amount of savings you can enjoy?
Okay.
30% every year for 10 years. Let's say 10 years.
Okay.
Okay. One claim every 10 years. You save a lot of money.
Okay.
So for people who actually are not so in good shape, okay, or they foresee that in their life stage they are seeking some treatment. Okay. So for me, mine is a different example, opposite from you. So for the past 3 years, for the past 5 years, I've gone through three or four episodes. 2 for my shoulder surgery, rotator cuff surgery, okay, and other things. So for me, I will continue to keep the old rider because I will have to do follow-up, okay, for my treatment, my recent treatment. Okay, I will with the old riders, I can claim more. So what it means is that for people who foresee that there is a scheduled medical plan, maybe the next 1-2 years, you expect to go for a certain treatment or surgery, or you are in conditions whereby you foresee that coming. Okay, perhaps it may be better to stay on to the old rider.
Okay,
at the moment.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, fourth point.
Fourth point is actually the health condition I want to bring up. So, as I mentioned just now, if the health is pretty good, healthy, you can actually stick to go to your new rider. Okay, you can save more. Your savings will outweigh the utility, the cost. Okay, but for people who are not so healthy, well, I think the old rider will make more sense at this moment.
Okay, fifth point.
The fifth point is really a point of options. Okay, because depending on life stage, for some people, they may feel that, well, I have a kid. Okay, I want to give the best option for them. Okay, even though they do not need the very high private hospital, but they want to give the best for the children. All right, and the premiums are not too expensive
for the children.
Yeah, so they can actually provide that. Okay, or they can, while they are working, they go for the highest plan, private hospital. Okay, but they have to be mindful that when they are transiting to retirement phase, they really have to review and downgrade. So it is staying high, but with the preparation that you have to adjust downwards.
Okay, this is a very interesting conversation, and there are a few more things I want to talk about. And although Helen told us to keep it to 50 minutes, I think this conversation is going very, very long. But I thought it's important, right? I want to challenge that point about affordability, right?
Yes.
So is affordability everything, Eddie? Because if you ask a lot of people about affordability, right, and they are still working, and maybe their income is good, right? I can afford. I can afford the current premiums, even though it's gone through so many increases. I can afford. So does it mean that if you can afford the premium today, then you should buy the best plan and give yourself the options?
I think when we talk about premiums affordability, we're not just talking about premiums, okay? Because you may be able to afford the premiums, but if the premium take out a big chunk of your living expenses, that actually doesn't make sense also,
right?
Okay? Because you need to plan for your future, savings for future. You need to enjoy a good life right now, okay? But how I feel that actually the big differential will happen when a person is 50 plus. Because this is where the premiums will start to hit above $1,000.
Will jump up.
About $1,000 you need to pay. Okay. Typically, depending on the age, the different insurance company, you have to pay about $1,000 a year. Okay. And this continues to increase as you age. Okay. Interestingly, we are actually writing this article, a case study for a retiree. Okay, what are some considerations they can place when they think about their IP plans? Okay, so in this case study, we talk about considering this person retired at 65 and he is going to live from 66 all the way to 90 years old. How much premium is he going to pay in his lifetime? Okay, today if you were to stick on to a private plan, let's say a private plan, an old rider plus an old rider, the average cost is about $450,000. That is the amount that you need to pay from 66 to 90 years old. Okay, and this is before including the inflation. Okay, it's just purely not inflation, and
you're assuming current premium.
It will go up. Okay, but just use this case study of $460,000. If you switch to the new rider, you'll be $370,000. It's still a lot of money.
You save about $100,000.
About $100,000. So, but if this person were to choose a ward public hospital plus a new rider, okay, guess how much the cost? It is about $100,000.
Wow,
okay.
That's almost 300,000.
Yeah. So the cost of the private hospital is about 3 to 4 times the cost of a ward in the best in public hospital. Okay. So this is the cost differentiation that you need to weigh. Number one,
it's a trade-off.
Yeah. The second thing is that it really depends on the resources of this retiree, right? If this retiree is able to generate retirement income, let's say about 2008, okay, every month, let's say, just assume that he can spend 2008 from 66 all the way 90 years old. His resources plus CPF life can do that, okay? If he were to stick on to the private hospital, okay, he will pay about close to 50% of his retirement income on medical expenses. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? So
he spent half of his medical, or rather he spent half of his retirement income on paying insurance policies.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't make sense. Okay. So I'm using a 2008 income example. But if a person is able to generate, let's say, $7,000 income, okay, for his retirement phase, okay, the amount of insurance will take up about 20%. I mean, it is significant, but it's still affordable if you
not ridiculous.
Not ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it really depends on your resources. Okay, And really, is the staying with the private hospital that important to you?
Yeah, it's a trade-off. And I mean, honestly, my own opinion is that, I mean, for affordability, it is not just about the affordability of premium, like you said, right? And this is very much in line with Providend's view as well, because, I mean, we cannot be planning for all the contingencies in your life such that you cannot live a life today and you don't set aside enough to save for the future, right? And I thought the article that the analysis that you did, right, from 1 year to 100 years old, actually is a very good resource, because I know that the latest article is based on a person turning 50 to 85, is it, or 65, right?
The latest,
the one that you just rattled off from 50
the one is a
years
working age group. Yes, I think about 50 or so. Yes,
I would want to know as young as possible that if I can decisively choose a more affordable plan, the amount of savings that I save will allow me to live a good life today and save more for the future. If I can be very decisive as early as possible. So what we are trying to say, right, listeners, is this, that when we say affordability, we're not talking about just affordability of your premiums today. You got to ask yourself holistically the trade-offs, how it affects the other aspects.
that's right.
Right? Because we all earn that limited $1 income, but we have to fund so many things in life. And we got to ask ourselves, how much do I really want to allocate into buying insurance so that I still have enough for other things in life? We cannot look at it in silo and say, okay, I can afford $5,000 a year. Okay, I'll just buy it. But it just means a trade-off, right? Okay, I want to wrap up because we're going to, otherwise, Helen's going to switch off the camera, right? And not record whatever we're going to say, right? It really sounds complicated. I just want to ask you, and I'll share mine as well. What are you doing with your own plan? You're sticking to the same plan.
Yeah. So for me, because of my situation in health, okay, I will stick on to the old rider. Yeah. But for some insurance company, the old riders, there are two types. The higher tier and the lower tier. So for me, I choose the lower tier.
Okay.
But it's the old rider.
Yeah. So for me, I am on, my base plan is the plan that allows me to stay in the private hospital.
Yeah, same.
Okay. And my rider used to be the better rider. Okay. It used to be the better rider. And the better rider waives the deductible. I have to just pay 5% co-insurance, and my co-insurance is limit to $3,000.
That's right.
Okay. Now, of course, days before the due date, you advised me to switch to the lower rider, okay, which means that I got to pay a co-insurance of 10%, but the co-payment is still kept at $3,000.
That's right.
So it makes sense. And so I quickly switch it. Now, for me, it's an interim measure, really, because I went to CPF Plan, the website, and I went to check it out how much I would pay if I continue to be on the private plan. And I realized that I got to pay out of pocket about $700,000. And that means that I've got lesser $700,000 for my retirement. Now I'm seriously considering whether I need to stay in a private hospital. Okay, and I might either, in the next move, I might either keep the base plan for my private hospital and switch to the cheaper IP rider, right? Because I'm healthy and I seldom claim. I mean, thank God, I hope I remain healthy, right? And if I seldom claim, then maybe switching to a lower IP, the new IP rider launch after 1st April will make sense, but I keep the private base plan, right? So that might be the first move. Unless the insurance company raise my base plan premium so high that I don't think it makes sense anymore, then I'll probably downgrade my base plan from the private hospital option to maybe staying in an A ward in the government hospital. Yeah. So it will be a step-by-step consideration. And I really want to end off this series by saying that, right? I'm not sure whether our conversation helps provide clarity. I mean, we talk about the reason for the change. I think generally Singaporeans understand why we need to do this. Otherwise, the premiums is uncontrollable. It'll go out of hand. And then we talk about the changes. What are the changes? And then we talk about comparing all the plans. And you realize it's very complicated. It's not just the IP riders that has changed. It's not just about choosing the cheapest, the new IP rider, cheapest one, because the base plan riders, or rather the base plan premiums have also changed, right? You need to consider the 5 points that Eddy has brought up. And it is circumstantial. It depends on what you are looking for. It depends on your health situation. And the one important point that I think both of us realize is IP plan is no longer a plan whereby you buy and then you don't review it. You can't anymore.
Yeah.
You need to continually review it because many things in life will change. Your health will change. The premiums will change. The premiums for the rider will change. The premium for the base plan will change. The benefits will change. And so I think the take-home point I hope for you, even as you listen to our discussion, is that perhaps it's a good time to sit down and really think about your IP rider. Don't just stay as it is. I think you need to seriously consider all those points that Eddy has shared, okay, and think about your next step. And from time to time, you need to go back and think about these points, and then maybe you have to make a change to your IP. It's not something that you buy and then you forget about it, and because there are implications. Implications to the trade-offs, implication to the out-of-pocket expenses you have to pay, implications to your retirement, implications to whether you can live a good life today, right? Now, I'm going to encourage us to look out for the new article. When it's going to be launched? The one that you are working on?
Should be next week.
Okay, so do sign up the newsletter, if there's a newsletter. Is there a newsletter?
Yes.
Okay, so sign up for the newsletter to be informed of the new article. You may want to read previous articles by the Haven team on the IP changes. And since you're on the website, you may want to download our insurance ebook.
That's right.
Right? I think the insurance ebook will give you a very good understanding on what insurance is for, what insurance you should have, what insurance actually you don't have. And our idea really is for insurance, it is really an expense. And so for insurance, buy as much as you need, but pay as little as you can. This has been Providend's philosophy, and of course today Haven's philosophy for the past 2 decades or so. And the other ebook that I think not related to what we are discussing right now is the CPF playbook. I think that book gives you a very good understanding on how you can use your CPF to secure your retirement. We don't mean to say this, but very soon Haven is going to launch a retirement planning service. Look out for it, right? And the CPF is going to be a big part of that retirement service that they are offering, which I think you're going to find to be very useful. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you, Eddy, for sharing with all of us about the insights from the recent IP rider changes. And if you find this conversation to be helpful, please do share with your friends, please do share with your families, and I really hope that it will help you, at least jolt you in thinking how to better plan for your medical insurance. And I hope that, and I think it's not just my hope, it's not just Providend's hope, it's also Haven's hope, that it will help you look at insurance really differently, that you will really buy as much as you need, but pay as little as you can, so that you have, or rather buy as much as you need, pay as little as you can, that's right, so that you have enough money to live a life today, and also save enough for the future. So once again, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.